Fireside Tales. Hello, I'm Merlin, Mililli. Welcome to my fireside, where we almost always, so far, we always get weird. I tell weird tales by my fireside. And I drink coffee. One of these days I'd like to have a live studio audience to drink coffee with. Give presents to, like Oprah. So I drink coffee every week, most every week, from my skull mug because I'm a deadhead. Last week I didn't have my skull mug because my kids confused me and put it away. I couldn't find it last week, and I said I have children, but it was actually in the cupboard. Last place I was looking for it because it's not usually in the cupboard. That's where it belongs. That would be silly. So I got my skull mug back. So every week here at Fireside Tales, we also, I tell the story of the Grateful Dead. And we discuss reincarnation. And that's one of the reasons why I tell the story of the Grateful Dead. Not just because I'm a deadhead. For those of you who don't know out there in TV land, a deadhead is a person who really likes the Grateful Dead. The Grateful Dead is a band, psychedelic rock band, played music. So they got their name from a story from the Tibetan Book of the Dead called The Story of the Grateful Dead. So every week I tell you the story. I've been changing it up a little here and there. But I tell you the story as I heard it from a deadhead by a fire, as it should be told. So here we go. In case you were ready for it. Once there was a traveler. Long ago. So long ago that she traveled by foot. And she happens upon a town where there's a crowd. As she gets closer, she discovers that they're squabbling. As she gets closer still, she discovers that they're squabbling over a dead man's body. Quite literally. Dead man is laying there and people are squabbling over his debts and who's going to bury him, who's going to pay for it. So the traveler just thinks this is disrespectful at the very least, rather atrocious, and she stops the townspeople and she pays the dead man's debts and she pays for a proper burial and she prays over the dead man's body and grave, proper grave at that, and she travels on. as travelers do. And then, many years later, decades later, she happens upon a life or death situation in which a stranger comes out of nowhere and saves her life. Traveler says, "Who are you? Where did you come from? Why did you save my life? Thank you for saving my life." And the stranger says, simply, "I am the Grateful Dead." So a lot of people are confused about reincarnation, period. But a lot of people are confused about this particular story, which is funny because it's a Buddhist story, and Buddhists believe in reincarnation. And I believe in reincarnation, and I think the story of the Grateful Dead is a story about reincarnation. Corpses don't save lives. It's not a corpse at the end. He's not a corpse still. Zombies don't save lives. He's not a zombie. He's a reincarnated person. He died. Maybe praying over a person's grave has something to do with whether or not they're able to be reincarnated. I don't know. I do have this ability that seems to have carried over from lifetime to lifetime, and I'm a psychic medium. I've been able to communicate with the spirit realm for, well, lifetimes. And since I was a little girl in this life, in this body. So the spirits have a theory about reincarnation, and I haven't been able to disprove their theory. And it is that if you were murdered, you get to come back. You're reincarnated. So one of the reasons why I believe so firmly in reincarnation is because I've had access to the Akasha, or the Akashic records, since I was a teenager. And it's a meditative library that houses a book for everyone's soul. And the book just keeps record of your soul, who and where and when it's been. So I've been a lot of people, strangely, and my book is really big. So I'm not saying that's a good thing. If the murder theory is right, and I know I've been murdered a number of times. Like I said, I haven't been able to disprove the theory. Today I'm going to discuss another life in which I was murdered. So it's a theme. I have these themes that do move throughout lifetimes. I seem to have psychic medium abilities, an interest in art, music, stars, dogs, nights with a K, nature, mountains, math, writing, reading, push against the church. They burnt me at the stake twice, so I have a little thing with them. Birds, angels, travel, Native Americans, horses, the ocean, epilepsy, Boston. All of these things, every person that has been involved with. Though some of them I pick up as I go, like Native Americans, Boston, like those threads pick up and then they never go away. So, in our first episode, we talked about my very last life before this one, in which I had a connection to the Grateful Dead. So that's another reason why I tell the story of the Grateful Dead. If you want to know who I was, you'll have to watch our first episode. Then I went all the way back to the very beginning of my book, to the first person my book records me being, and we've been working our way steadily forward to present day. So we started in ancient Peru, and then we discussed interdimensional travel and how I had to be a cloud bird for having interdimensionally traveled. Then we went to ancient Tibet and ancient Egypt, and I was in ancient Sumeria twice. That seems to be a thread. I keep popping up where I left off exactly. Then I was in ancient Greece where I boarded a boat, and there is a watermark in my book. And it was right at the time when time changed from BC to AD. And I don't know how long we were out on the boats, but we were out at sea for a really long time, and there was a lot of us because there was no place to put the boats until we got up to Scotland, where I got off the boat and was murdered. Then I have more interdimensional travel, and I ended up in Old England, Ireland, Scotland, and then Byzantium and Constantinople, which are the same place, different time periods, modern day Turkey. Then I was in France twice. Twice I was burnt at the stake. I was in Italy twice. I was in England. I was in France and America. I was in Austria. And I was in Boston twice. So I last left you, actually, with a person who was born in Boston, but died in Baltimore, Maryland in 1849. And that person was Edgar Allan Poe. And that's another one of my threads, is being people of note. But today I'm going to discuss a life in which I'm sure she would have been a person of note, and her little short life was horribly interesting, but very, very short. And who can expect a 4-year-old to become a person of note? So I believe she probably made the Boston papers. So I don't pick back up in Boston. Eventually we do get there today, though. I have a thread. There's a thing. So today I pick back up in Scotland. Again, I've been there before and probably be there again. But nonetheless, I pick it back up in Scotland in 1849. And I was born in Scotland, and I don't know who my parents were. The first memory I had in my book, it's not really a memory. I don't really read my book. I sort of touch it at a certain point in the pages, and I have a memory. So the first memory I had of this life was of being a baby in a cradle out in the forest, and next to me, hanging from a tree in an identical cradle with an identical bonnet on, is another baby. And we hang there for a really long time. Now, I wasn't even going to tell you about this life. I wasn't even going to look into it. I was just going to say, yeah, there's a 4-year gap, and I don't know. So, my book even tried to make me jump to the next person. My guides were like, this is, you have to understand before you look at this, that this is not karmic. This is not because you did something to children. This is not karmic. This life was just unfortunate and not a karma thing for you. Just understand that before you even look at it. That was my warning from my spirit guides about this life. This poor child. So she's out there hanging in the forest for what seems like days with this other baby. They cry. No one comes. No one's around. There's no adults within eye shot. There's no one anywhere. Just the other baby and me in this cradle. And this wild man, like dressed in the forest, with red hair, beard, comes rushing in, scoops both of us up, and zips right out of the forest, like fast as light. Just gone out of there with the babies. Both of us. Then he packs us both into his gear and he boards a boat. And, well, we walk for a long while and then he boards a boat. The boat is going to Boston. There's a maid on the boat who, once he gets to his cabin, the babies are crying and he can't conceal them anymore. And the maid knows he has them. And she says to him, oh, well, he asks her for milk, actually. And this is one of the reasons why I know I was just a very young baby, because she said babies that age don't drink milk yet. They drink mother's milk or formula. And so she said, I have some formula in the kitchens, and why don't you let me make them a couple of bottles? I'll bring them some diapers, and you could get them cleaned up and fed, and everything will be all right. So she does this. She makes him a couple of bottles, and she helps him feed the babies and change them, and she gives him her address and says, in Boston, and says, look me up if you need any more help with these babies, because he tells her and the babies that he saved them from being sacrificed. I'm not going to let you be sacrificed, he says to the babies before he scoops them out of the forest. And then he told the woman, the maid, she was suspicious at first, but, he was like, I couldn't let them become sacrifices. He kept saying that. I couldn't let them become sacrifices. So then they get to Boston, and the woman helps the man, Ian is his name, get the boy adopted. The boy's a little blonde-haired boy. But the girl, me, is a red-haired girl. And she's a girl. So no one wants me. So Ian takes me in. He gets a house in Boston, and I think he studies law or works as a lawyer or something, because he wears a suit and has a lot of books and a briefcase, and he goes to work every day. And I have a nanny, and it's not that woman, though. It's a different lady, and he calls me Cassidy, or Cassie for short. And he's very sweet and kind and gentle. He makes up a song called Cassie, Cassie the Lassie, and dances around singing it to me. He's very kind and very sweet and very gentle. And I lived for a little while with him. And he makes me a cool bed crib thing, and I have food and clothes and friends that I play with in the neighborhood and stuff. And but then one day this scary Scottish man comes and argues with Ian, trying to find out where the boy went. And they argue for quite some time. And Ian says, well, if I give you the address, will you spare us? And the man's really creepy, and he says in his thick Scottish accent, oh, of course. And so as soon as Ian gives him the piece of paper he's written upon, the guy shoots him in the head. And then he comes up to me. I'm in my little crib thing that Ian made me, and I don't really understand what's going on. 4 years old. And I remember looking into and holding the double barrel of a gun, and him saying, oh yeah, you want to chew on that. And blast. So now I know why I didn't want to look there. I woke up from my meditation with a terrible headache, and I only just found this life. Like I said, I was going to just skip right over it. Which is, nicer, but it's not the truth. And I wanted to tell the truth with this show. This is one major part of why I started making this show, because there's people running around telling lies all over the place, and they get away with it. So certainly my telling the truth can't do any harm. So I'm telling the truth. No more hiding behind nonsense and double standards and BS. And I don't want to hide behind society's little weird hang-ups about me and what I believe in and what I see as truth. So I am wrapping up, though, this season, and I'm thinking about doing a season for almost each person, for the longer lives that are a little complicated. Cassie might not get a full season because she hardly filled a full show. She didn't really have much time to make much of herself. But in the short while that she did live, she traveled far and wide, and she survived and saw kindness and hatred. Oh, my spirit guides told me that the piece of paper that Ian gave the man did not give up the boy. That Ian knew he was going to shoot him anyway. So he gave him a piece of paper that said 1, 2, 3, 4 FU Court or something like that, Boston, Massachusetts. So the boy apparently didn't die. So that's good. But it's always hard to end these shows with a shooting in the head. I came out of my meditation with a headache. I can't imagine it's all that much different for you to learn. It's painful for my spirit guides to look at this particular life. Dead children are not, they're not cool topics for conversation. Yeah. So, it's hard to end the show there, but I feel brave for having gone ahead and learned who she was, and I really wanted to tell you all about her because her life was so sad and unfortunate, and probably a good reason for some of my gloominess as well. Not just that I was Edgar Allan Poe, but then right after Edgar, I'm this tragic little girl. So it's sad. But Bear thinks it's sad too. He's moaning on the floor over there. I'm not sure why, but so that was hard for me to look at that life. It's not easy to look at these lives and figure out that you've been murdered. That there's a certain pain that goes with that. Just doesn't go away. So every week here at Fireside Tales, we also sing Deja Vu by David Crosby. And I think it's a song about reincarnation. But the phenomenon of deja vu, those actual snippets of time, I'm not sure if they have that much to do with reincarnation. But those moments when you're in a place that you've never been before, but you've been there before, that's deja vu related to your past lives. But those little snippets of time where you're doing something with other people and everybody just does these exact things at this exact moment and you've seen that exact exchange before, that I think is from our dreams. But that moment when you arrive somewhere where you know what's around the next corner, but you've never been there before. You know that next road's a dead end, but you've never been there before. How do you know these things? You know what the buildings looked like 100 years ago. Why do you know that? I had that experience with San Francisco. I had dreams about San Francisco when I was 3. I didn't actually go there until I was in my 30s. I didn't know I was having dreams about San Francisco because I hadn't been there. So I didn't actually put it all together until I was in my 30s. So, I am going to sing for you now a version of David Crosby's Deja Vu. Maybe today will be the day I get it right. Try to do it a little different every week, but starting to settle into the electric guitar and the harmonica without a thing. I just have to remember to play the harmonica without the thing, because I think they use their hands a lot more than you can with a thing. If I had ever been here before, I would probably know just what to do. Don't you? If I had ever been here before and another time around the wheel, I would probably know just how to deal with all of you. And I feel like I've been here before. Like I've been here before. And you know, it makes me wonder what's going on under the ground. Do you know? Don't you wonder? What's going on down under you? La da da, la da da, la da da da. La da 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 da. before. We have all been here before. Fire today. It's warm up here in Northern California today for January. 50 degrees. I don't really need a fire, but I decided to have it for tradition's sake. Can't really have fireside tales without fire, can you? Kind of silly. So that's Deja Vu. This is Little Bear. He wants me to wrap it up because it's lunchtime. Like I said, I would like to one day have a live studio audience that can have coffee with me. And pet bear. I'd also like to try to travel to some of these places that I lived my lives in. I'd love to go to Peru and Tibet and Egypt and Sumeria and Greece and Scotland. I mean, I'd love to go all these places. So, if at all possible, I will try to go to these places in future and discuss each life more in detail throughout the new seasons. But like I said, I'm wrapping up this season. I'll come back round full circle. I should have enough people to fill episodes until I get back to who I was right before this life. And we'll give that life a whole season, certainly. That one's complicated and documented, so there's a lot of recordings that document it, and then video and audio. So this should be interesting. We're gonna get weirder. So stay tuned. But we are gonna wrap up the season around Valentine's Day. So we have about a month left-ish. So that's it for me today. Thanks for watching. Have a weird and wonderful weekend.